Hi everyone, it's that time of year. We've been talking about it the whole semester, building up to it. It's unknown time. So on Wednesday, the 10th, you're going to get a packet. It'll look a lot like this. So on the front of the packet, it kind of gives you some instructions. We're going to go over a lot of that today in this lecture. Then there is a flow chart. This is what you'll use to identify your bacteria. There's a rubric. You'll turn this in with your written report. And then on the back is an interpretational chart. So this, as you're going through, this kind of helps you write down what test you did, when you did it, what media did you use, what did it look like. It kind of just can keep your stuff organized, okay? So the whole point of the assignment is to identify the bacteria I gave you in a broth to species or to genus. So that's what you'll use the flowchart to do. This is, however, an independent project, so you can't ask your friends for help. Also, don't just follow the same things that your friends do in the class because they don't have the same bacteria. There are many different choices, and so odds are that if you just always do the same thing they do, you're going to get down a weird path. It's really important to use logic. That is the thing that's going to be the most successful. If you accurately gram stain and then you use logic, you will get full credit for this assignment. There are a lot of 310 students right now that are still wrapping things up because they haven't been trusting the logic. So I really recommend that. Okay, additionally, if you ask an instructor or one of the student workers, they can't interpret results for you either. So you really need to look in your lab manual, look in your notes, these kind of things to find result interpretation. If you are looking for something, or if your microscope isn't working or something like that, if we can help you do those things, please ask. But we cannot interpret results for you. Okay. Next up is that as you're going through, one thing that'll help you with your results, we've been kind of taking notes throughout the semester about tests, right? Like the urea is not actually going to turn pink because it's purple. But those kind of things are going to be really beneficial. So that might be something to definitely go back and check. Always kind of write down as much as you can about what you're doing so that you can double check yourself. This assignment will take some outside of class time. So it's really important that even if it's not a lab day, you're dressed lab appropriate if you're going to come and work. If you are not fully clothed with your thighs covered and sleeves on, you can't be in the lab. You can't be in the lab if you don't have shoes on. You have to have your hair tied back. These are all for your safety. So you will be asked to leave if that's not the case. Okay, so what's going to happen? Wednesday, you will get a broth. That broth will be less than 24 hours old, so it will be ready to gram stain Wednesday. Then, sometime after that, you will streak a plate using your broth. This is an isolation streak, which is exercise 10 if you need to look back over it. And then the next day, you will need to gram stain this plate. Okay, so that's exactly like when you did practice unknowns. After that, you'll take it a little bit further. All tests that you run after your isolation plate will come from your plate. You'll use colonies on your plate for each test. That's why you want to do a really good streak isolation so you have lots of colonies to choose from. This is also a really important time because you can confirm that there's only one organism in the tube I gave you, okay? You're going to keep your unknown broth and your plate in the refrigerator the entire time once there's bacteria growing. So you'll streak your plate, you'll put it in the incubator so it grows, you'll get it out, you'll gram stain it, and then it'll stay in the refrigerator in the basket for the rest of the time. You have to turn it in to us. You should only use one plate. We don't need to be using more than one plate for this project. If you need an additional plate, you should definitely ask before you do it, because maybe there's something you're not thinking about. Okay, so this is what your flowchart looks like. This is just a colored version of it. So you'll see that the first thing that sorts is gram stain. So remember, you're going to gram stain your broth on Wednesday. You're going to streak a plate and gram stain it at some point after Wednesday. And then you'll know, do I have a gram negative or a gram positive? Do I have a rod or a coccus? If I have a gram positive coccus, then I'm going to go forward and do catalase. That's that next blue box down there. If I have catalase positive, then I need to run a sugar fermentation, a carbohydrate fermentation test, specifically the carbohydrate glucose, and then I'm going to know, if based on if it's positive or negative, what my results are. Does that make sense? So the same would go over here. If I have a gram negative, do I have a gram negative rod or coccus? Well, we know there's only, one choice. And then you can do oxidase, positive or negative. Oh, here's a good example. See how there's the words in this parentheses? It says also citrate. So if you had an oxidase positive, gram negative rod, you would then do a citrate. If it came back positive, you'd be certain you had Pseudomonas, and then you'd be done. That's it. Done. So it's good to run those tests that are in the parentheses for the appropriate box. Speaking of tests, all of the test things you need, like a nitrate broth, Simmons citrate slant, any of those type of things are on a bookshelf in 231. The urea is in the fridge in 231, in 225, in 228. There'll be urea in all three fridges. It just can't sit out at room temperature. If you go to look for a media and it's not there, please ask, because maybe it's ran out and we can restock it. Do not take anything from our shelves. They are covered in caution tape. They say do not use. That's stuff for our class. It's not gonna be the thing you want. There's a bookshelf specifically for you in 231, the overflow room. Additionally, if you're looking for reagents, there are reagents in every room, and there's reagents on the bookshelf in 231. The only two exceptions to that are peroxide's always in the fridge, because it's also not stable. And then oxidase, those little ones, remember we used, they don't last very long either. So you should probably ask someone for one if you don't see it obviously on the bookshelf. Because sometimes I throw them away and then wait till somebody needs one to get a new one out. Okay. So after you've gram stained, made a plate, gram stain your plate, then you're going to know what tests you need based on this flow chart here, which is exactly what's in your packet here. It's just not in color. Okay. Do not just inoculate one of everything. You will get a weird answer that isn't an answer. You have to follow logic or this doesn't work. Additionally, you don't need to run 4 Simmons citrate slants. You only need 1. Streak it, stab it, run it for 24 hours. It's going to be great. You trust your gut with this. Part of this is like being confident in your science. Okay? All right. There's a few things that can happen sometimes with the unknown project, and that's okay. Don't panic. Mostly, if you're freaked out at all, just come find me or Bruce or John, and somebody will help you, okay? If you don't have growth on your plate from the incubator after 24 hours, come find me. We will probably want to wait 48 hours just to make sure it's not a slow grower. And then there are some other things that could be happening there that we can talk about. Additionally, if you, after 24 hours, get your plate out of the incubator and there's more than one type of colony, come find me We will talk about what you need to do to move forward. It's all going to be fine. Neither of these things mean that you're not going to get your unknown correct. Okay? Finally, we talked a little bit about the overflow room. So you can always work in the overflow room when classes are in session. However, only 12 people fit in the overflow room at a time. There are 198 of you in 210. So that means there are 198 of you that need to get this project done. So don't, you're just going to have to be flexible with coming in on Tuesdays and Thursdays when the other classes are booked up. That being said, Tuesday and Thursday afternoons are free in 228. Also, I have a lot of open slots in my 310 classes where you can sneak in and use some of those. Just come by, look and see how crowded it is, figure out what your options are. Also remember that Fridays and Mondays are great days to work because I can fit 60 students at a time in my rooms on Fridays and Mondays because there are no classes. On Friday, you have to be able to do things that can sit over the weekend, which means you can't streak your plate on Friday to gram stain it because this place will not be open on Saturday. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 is when everything is open. At 8, there might not be somebody there right at 8 because I have to drop off my child, so you might need to wait till like 8:07. But we're on our way. Somebody's going to unlock the door. It's all going to be okay. All right. If there is a class in session, but you need to go get your unknown and your slide box and all of that, that's okay. Just wait till the lecture's done. We will open the door, and then you can sneak in, grab your stuff, and go work in 231 or whatever, wherever you're going to go work. Everything you need if you're going to work in 231 is in there. There's gram stain kits, there's strikers, there's microscopes, there's pans, there's everything you need. So don't take anything besides your bacteria and your slide box. I was kind of thinking of some things that will be helpful to you on Wednesday when you're making gram stains, or any day that you're gram staining. I would make more than one slide. I think that'll be helpful. I would take pictures, because then you can like really confirm. Because what if you forget what color is positive for citrate or something like that? Your streak plate needs to be gram stained within 24 hours of streaking it. Your oxidase test needs to be tested within 24 hours of making your, either using your plate, or you can make a slant and then do it from a slant. My suggestion would be Wednesday, streak your plate. Thursday, come in and gram stain it. Or Thursday, streak your plate and come in and gram stain on Friday. When you come to gram stain, just do your oxidase test at the same time. That would be my suggestion. I know that a lot of you are watching the online lectures, so you can even come in during your normal lecture time because you definitely don't have a class schedule during that time. It's up to you. Let's talk for a second about incubation. At room temperature, things are going to grow slower. So if you're looking for fast growth, then you need to put it in your incubator. Make sure the incubator is on. Sometimes they get turned off for random reasons. Make sure it is turned on. It does get turned off over the weekend, but that shouldn't affect you at all. If you put a plate in the refrigerator, it will not grow. So that's good if you're just trying to store it for the future. So it's not going to get contaminated, it's not going to get dried out, that kind of stuff. But if you are expecting to grow bacteria from your plate that's in the refrigerator, that's not going to happen. So when you streak your plate from your broth, it has to go in your incubator. Your incubator has to be on. Okay? 37 degrees. There's even a thermometer in every incubator. You might even just check that the thermometer says it's 37 degrees in there. I highly recommend that. see what else I have. Okay, what to turn in. So every instructor or professor is going to be a little bit different with this, so definitely listen during class to learn. Most importantly, though, you're going to include your rubric that we give you into your packet or into your written report, because that's how we'll grade it. Look at the rubric. It has like specific things on it, how you're earning points. The most important things are like the specifics, like when did you run the test, what test was it, what media was it, when did you come in to interpret it, what was the result. That's the stuff I'm looking for, because I want to know about the logic. A thing I really suggest doing is, so I've gram stained my broth on Wednesday and I have a gram-positive coccus. So I, on Thursday, come in, streak my plate. Friday, I gram stain my plate and I have a gram-positive coccus again. So I'm going to do an oxidase test. And then I'm going to look at my chart and say, oh, I'm going to do a catalase test. That's easy. And then I need a bile-esculin slant. So then I'm going to inoculate that. And I will write all of this stuff down in my journal. And then I'll say, like, if this is positive, then I have this thing. If it's negative, I need to do this test. Does that make sense? So always write down, like, what's the next step after this, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time and, like, go through it. You don't need to save, like, your nitrate broth. That's not going to help. You have to save your original broth and your streak plate. You will turn in your streak plate 4 points when you turn in your unknown. So we will look at them to see how it went. Okay, I have a list of like tips, so let me look and see if I have anything else. So your report is largely just a journal, like April 10th, I received broth number 43. It was a gram-positive coccus when I gram stained it. On Thursday, I'm going to streak my plate. That's your journal entry for Wednesday. Something like that. Definitely list your journal entries in chronological order. You're going to want to type them. You want to use the flow chart to determine what you're doing next. You definitely want to list where you incubated things, what type of media you use, what was the result. And don't just write positive, but like write what it looks like. Nitrate broth, positive, turned red after adding nitrates A and B. And then at the end of your report, you'll say, because of this, 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 and this, I have decided I have E. coli. Something like that. And that's what you're going to turn in. So it's not super complicated. It's not like organic chemistry or something like that. Really, it's about describing the procedure in a way that I could replicate it. And that we can follow and make sure that you didn't skip a step, which is how sometimes people get things wrong. The majority of people that do their unknown incorrectly didn't do those 2 gram stains that matched. The broth gram stain and then the plate gram stain. If your gram stains don't match, find me. Okay? I will help you figure out what's happening. It could be maybe we didn't gram stain well, or it could be an issue. Either way, find me. I can help you figure out what the next step is if that's the case. Okay, so this is going to go. It's not that hard. Some of you are going to get done super fast. Some of you are going to take a little bit longer. You can tell just by looking at the flowchart that there are areas that are more complicated than others. But it's all about trusting your gut. You have plenty of time to get this done. It is due April 24th, and it is worth 10 points. It can replace a quiz grade, which is the most useful thing, really, because people do very, very well on this. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Your instructor will go over more of this on Wednesday, and good luck.